right, Marian. Thank you very much for taking your time and inviting me here to inoBat, to Slovakia, and giving me an extensive tour with your team. I learned a lot, and I hope I'll learn more in this conversation now about the innovation that inoBat is providing. First off, before we jump into that in-depth discussion, how did you find into the field of battery innovation?
It's a good question. First of all, thank you for coming, Simon. It's amazing what you're doing. I think this awareness campaign on four wheels with an electric engine and battery, propelled solution. I think that's what Europe needs. To show that we can travel. How many? 7,000 kilometers.
So far, yeah.
You've been able to crisscross Europe, and I'm glad you stopped by in Slovakia. So thanks for that, and keep up the good work. How I got to the field of batteries, I have been an investor entrepreneur in kind of the clean energy space for the past 20 years, and started my career in investment banking in New York. Worked for World Bank on some of the first renewable energy projects. From Latin America to wind farms in Jordan, Middle East, and after almost 20 years abroad, I decided to come back to Slovakia in 2015, and basically I saw a country that while I was away became a number one automotive producer in the world per capita. I was like, wow, okay, we got 5 million people and we produce more than 1 million cars. So a lot of good things have happened while I was abroad, and I said to myself, well, okay, from the investments that we've been taking in the R&D space and tech space, I have seen actually that when you go from the R&D investment to infrastructure, it's very difficult. It's really difficult to go from the brains of a scientist from a lab to actually building a project. And in renewable energy, it's all about how do you actually go in combining the equipment suppliers with government authorities to actually building something that serves humanity, serves the country, and from this experience in investing in this field, I saw an opportunity that why don't we combine basically some of the best IP that is on the chemistry side with the industrialization expertise that Slovakia has. The manufacturing heritage from the heavy industries in the 50s, 60s to actually automotive industry. And inoBat was born, 5 years ago, the whole idea started with the initial investment that my investment company started making around 2018, 2019. This was in the AI and battery space before it boomed. Yeah. And we saw a number of companies that actually were great in the lab condition, but basically struggled to actually get the product from the minds of a scientist to actually to a customer. And we saw a very particular niche in the market for high performance applications, where people electrifying aviation, eVTOLs, low voltage, hyper performance players, they cannot rely on a catalog solution, that typically large scale Asian manufacturers provide. They actually needed a bit of tailoring, a bit of joint development, and this is where the idea of inoBat was born to actually tap into that market. Sort of high performance. Relatively lower volume, but highly specialized applications.
So that was almost 10 years ago when you laid the first stone towards this industrialization that you're foreseeing right now and that you're undergoing at the moment. So maybe you can just touching on the heritage of inoBat for a second, but then also pinpointing and describing the key innovation that you put forward. So what is inoBat known for?
So inoBat, the name stands for innovative batteries, right? It stands for innovation, and what makes us innovative is actually, we've been deploying AI since the beginning. Before AI became such a common, sexy term. We've been using AI, machine learning for chemistry optimization.
So what year are we talking there?
2019-20. Right from the outset, we were relying on basically combinatorial science, how we can look at a different combination of cathode, anode, electrolyte materials to actually come up with a recipe that the market needs, that is not otherwise being served by the large players, So the innovation started on the chemistry side, and then it continued through basically industrialization. We didn't wait actually to build a facility. You saw we actually sent our scientists to learn from the countries that are ahead of us in terms of manufacturing. So we send people to Korea, to Taiwan. We have bought into a contract manufacturing capacity, and we were able to build basically production protocols while we were constructing the plant here.
Mm.
So we're ready to hit the ground running. And when you look at the innovation, we have gone through 4 generations of chemistry. You've seen it, from NMC62 all the way now to
Yeah, you showed it in the lab.
811, low to high silicon anode. Our scientists are now working on, obviously, the end game, the holy grail solutions like solid state and lithium metal. However, what we tried to do was actually look at what's available in the market and bring it to the market right away, rather than coming up with some exotic chemistry. So the innovation was also in the speed to actually turn the recipe into a product that customers in very difficult applications like eVTOL can actually utilize, and the speed in which you can turn the R&D into a final product is actually, that's what I consider our main IP.
Okay. So, and the product that you put out is mainly high performance and niche market. Is that addressed correctly? Or, and that segues over to a follow-up question, what is your ambition in order to address the mass market as well? Because you have something in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always say that we try to be, kind of Christian Dior of batteries, so focusing on the high-end market, but at the same time, we, with our partner Goshen, who's also our shareholder, we focus on the mass market. So, 90% of our focus is on actually the high-end, industry, which is NMC based, high silicon anode chemistry. But also we have formed with Goshen a joint venture called GIB, Goshen inoBat Batteries, that is now developing a gigafactory 45 minutes from where we are in a city called Shurani. And it's a large-scale LFP facility, which we expect will break the ground this summer. And we believe that's the answer to the mass market. We're not doing it alone.
Yeah.
We have joined forces with a top 3 player, backed by Volkswagen as a shareholder. On the NMC side, this is a truly European solution because applications like defense, aviation, they actually, from geopolitical point of view, they need that European stamp, European DNA, and that's where this facility comes from.
Yeah, it's a very interesting strategy that you're pursuing because you're European by heart, as I learned, but you're also aware of the fact that we have to learn from this 20 year of experience that the Asians have if we want to go on large scale. And my question to you regarding this is, you have your first pilot here, then you're building Volt 2, right?
Volta 2.
Volta 2, sorry. And then very soon you will have with Jib a really giga scale factory. How are you keeping the IP and also the managerial pole position in this game? Because I could see that there are mighty players
Yeah.
involved, right? So how are you dealing with that?
I'm a former tennis player, so I like to draw analogies from tennis. Sometimes you play
Sure.
singles, sometimes you play doubles, sometimes you're part of a team competition like Davis Cup, or Fed Cup for female tennis players. So, you can think of the facility here as a kind of a single country, single player competition, right? So, this is really destined for the European market, European IP, and we have ways in place to protect it. At the same time, we are not saying that we can do it all alone. And when it comes to industrialization, the equipment expertise is where we rely on Goshen and their expertise in having built 14 gigafactories. This is a priceless know-how that comes through the partnership. So yes, the Voderady, it's being run by mostly Europeans, Slovaks. We have expats from 19 countries. Whereas Shurani, the GIB model, it's a joint venture. It's a blended team, also mostly run by Slovak, but with the support of Chinese colleagues. And the Goshen head of Europe, Steven Tsai, has moved to Slovakia. He has brought his core team. So it's an interesting blend of 2 nationalities working together on this giga scale project. Whereas Voderady is more of a European venture, European management, European team.
Yeah, understand. How would you describe working together with the Asians on this big project?
Well, it's It's an opportunity and challenge at the same time, right? You're dealing with different sort of cultural aspects. The way things are done outside of Europe, especially in Asia, are very specific. I mean, speed is essential.
Mm.
So there's a lot of education, a lot of kind of finding common ground in terms of understanding of stakeholder management, permitting process in Europe, and I believe that you know we we educate each other. They push us in terms of speed, and we also try to educate ourselves that this is how things are done in Europe, and obviously we try to make it as the best blend of the European quality with the China speed. And this is
Yeah,
our
yeah,
mantra, our motto. And given the obstacles that this project, this joint venture team has overcome, I see it's working. But yeah, it's an everyday challenge, right? And but also an
absolutely.
opportunity. And I
Uh-huh.
believe this is the only joint venture that is in place in the battery space in Europe. And I'm glad to see that the team is being molded both from inoBat, Goshen team. The co-MDs are Slovak and Chinese. Pavel Krokoš represent the inoBat side, Steven Sar represent the Goshen side, and I believe that it's you know the milestones that we are reaching show that it's working.
Yeah, from the European perspective or from the Chinese perspective, depends on the way they want to see it. What is the benefits that China has, or like Chinese companies or Asian companies, on working closely together with European players on the European continent?
Well, it's they have the benefit of time, right? They made a choice to not to focus on combustion engines, but on the battery electrification about 20 years ago. So they have that the know-how, the empirical experience of having built gigafactories, having
Mm.
gone through the R&D to industrialization challenges that Europe has gone through very painfully the last 5 years, as we have seen. A number of players have fallen sideways because it's been very challenging, maybe more than we expected.
Mm.
So yeah, it's this really the know-how and track record which you really need, which you cannot replace with any capital, no matter how much capital you get from VC
Yeah.
funds. You need to have that experience,
So
and
that's the what Europe profits from the Asians basically, and the other way around. How would you describe that in a brief sentence?
it's the understanding of the environment, the understanding of the customer, the psychology, right? The psychology, the way you approach customers here, the expectation of the customers are not necessarily the same across Asia and Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So is this also human aspect, from permitting to stakeholder management, working with local authorities, municipalities, dealing with potential protests, that come with European democracy that maybe you don't necessarily see it elsewhere.
Yes.
So it's these aspects which obviously, if you don't treat them properly, if you don't take them seriously enough, they could derail the project, as we've seen in other countries and other projects where people were not seen or heard, and this is where I believe the European partner brings that pedigree, that experience, that ability to connect, to local government authorities, and to make sure that the obstacles are removed through dialogue, discussion, and they're not necessarily delays. I think this is
Mm.
very important. The understanding of the marketplace is important from a local partner.
Yeah, gotcha. So, on this expedition, I'm asking three questions to all leaders that attend this format, and I would like to ask them to you as well. So, let's start off with the first one. If you look at Europe and the current ongoings, what would you pinpoint as the main challenges that are holding the buildup of the European battery ecosystem and thus our European battery production industry back?
I would say maybe if I look at the past maybe 5 years, my experience, I think it's maybe the lack of doing it together.
Hmm.
We all kind of have been running this Swedish race, French race, Slovak race, German race. I think it's gotta be European race. We gotta be united. You cannot win the race for sovereignty without the support of government and investors. So the biggest challenge has been that a lot of capital has poured in one direction,
Hmm.
it got burned, and now the sentiment has gone from excitement to like total, you
Fear?
know, fear. Like, my
Yeah.
God, I don't want
It's
to
like
touch any battery.
freeze mode like right
Free,
now if
like, a
you
capital markets are frozen, you know.
yeah.
So, and if you want to compete, you need to scale up, you need to grow your business. This is an infrastructure play. This is deep tech, right? These are not software companies. These are really fixed asset companies. So I think,
It's both, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you just mentioned it, that you're
sure,
using a lot of AI and
yeah,
data science, machine learning, etc., in order to optimize the process and also the development process, not
yeah,
just the production process, but also.
absolutely.
So I think it's both.
Yeah, but it's a very capital intensive industry, right? So we need
Mm,
the support of the investors. You also need a bit of kind of a European solidarity, from policymakers and automakers. That even though we didn't get it right the first time, and there have been some casualties,
yeah.
not to give up on the battery startups, right? Because you know. Uh, Rafael Nadal didn't become a superstar overnight, right? He really lost many times to Federer before he was able to compete. So I think we need that patience, that the second chance, and I think the biggest challenge right now is to get the capital that allows you to grow, to compete, to deliver the European
Mm,
solution right now.
okay, gotcha. If we frame this positively, what is the unique potential about Europe that we could leverage if we find the right investors? What innovation, what potential can we bring to the track?
I think the biggest hope I have right now is that kind of the geopolitical instability is forcing us to really think of it as a continent, not just like different
As a
nations
unity,
competing.
right?
Unity,
Mm,
I think it's bringing us together. There's a big ask now for European batteries for the UAVs, for defense, for rockets. The question of European technological independence, sovereignty has never been more important than now, and I think this is now kind of switching the mindset from, okay, let's just look at it purely from like a return on investment point of view. 5 years ago, let's pour money in. It makes sense to actually now, let's look at it as also an opportunity for Europe to rebuild. And I believe with this mindset, I hope that they will see return on more capital to companies that are able to make this U-shape and be part of this like mega campaign, make Europe great again,
yeah.
because this is
Stealing that slogan.
yeah, mega. You need mega factories and gigafactories for that. You need to be fast,
Yeah.
and you need to keep your European identity, but also you need to learn from your competitors to make sure that Europe gets the best solution. And I think there are enough sort of learning points now. So I think what I see is more of a consolidation now, in having a common approach to how we can, bring European batteries, European AI. I think the push is the greatest I ever seen. I think that's the opportunity for all of us.
I think it's forcing everyone to reach hands.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Rich chance, like, you came to Slovakia. It's
We're not done yet.
okay. I don't know. I'm not cutting it short, but I think it's great to see that you have German engineers coming to Slovakia. You've seen we have like 19 nationalities. We have a lot of people who came from behemoth of like LG Chem, the largest gigafactories, and
Mm.
they want to work on a European solution, because there's this sense of pride. But it cannot be just about the patriotism. It's gonna be
It
about
must
real
be
solutions,
practical.
practical.
Yeah.
You gotta integrate it. You gotta deliver.
Yeah.
And this is where we need to come together.
So I think that is a perfect opener for the last question. If you would have one advice to our industry, to all the stakeholders out there, what would you give?
I would maybe stop looking in the past, because past has nothing new to tell you about the future unless you want to live there. And basically now really take it as a turning point where we can either spend time analyzing what went wrong, and basically disallowing us from any action, or actually do a complete U-turn and really focus on what are the best pieces of what came out of this like European battery value chain initiative over the
Mm.
past decade, and really help each other out in terms of funding, in terms of policymaker support, so we can create European champions, not national champions. We need European champions, that can really deliver a European solution. And the funding is there, the product is there. We just have to match the two, and this is where we need help from also the European customers to make it really European specific in terms of requirements, and policymakers to bridge this gap, in capital and the product, the R&D that is being created over the past decade here.
Yeah. So I think we're on a joint mission,
Absolutely.
and now we can reach hands again.
All
So,
right.
Marian,
Okay. To unity. Yeah.
unity, man.
To more togetherness. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
For the
And
European battery industry.
congrats on what you're doing, and enjoy the rest of your tour. I know you're heading south to harder region of Europe, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that there are countries producing this type of startups in tech and competing with other parts of the world and Europe. So say hi to our friends wherever you go.